Rolling along, the Tuesday edition of the Huddle, Fox Sports Radio, Wisconsin, broadcasting live in Madison, Milwaukee, worldwide on the iHeartRadio app as well. Drew Olson, Billy Schmidt, Armin Sarian. We are happy to welcome the program special guest Stan Van Gundy joining us. The documentary, A Road at Night, about Howard Moore and the tragic accident we've been talking about, that starts its run at Marcus Theater in Madison on Thursday. It's going to run for a week. And Stan is featured in this. Stan, thanks for joining us. This is such a heavy topic because on one hand, we want to celebrate and keep thinking about Howard Moore. And on the other hand, thinking about it makes you realize how unfair the world is and how tragic the circumstance is.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's no better person in this world that I've run into than Howard Moore. And to see what happened to him and his family on a drive down just to see his wife's family is tragic. But I think the documentary that John Roach did, A Road at Night, is powerful, and it also celebrates the spirit of Howard Moore and his family and how they've moved past this and are trying to get on. I mean, it's an amazing family, and Howard's an amazing person who's still in there fighting.
You coached Howard, and I'm wondering, I remember his career to have the impact that he had. I think he scored about 100 points in his collegiate basketball career, but he struck me as kind of the Thanasis energy guy. What was it like to coach him? And when you were coaching him, did you think to yourself, this guy's going to be a coach at some point?
You know what? That's just a great analogy with Thanasis. I hadn't used that one. That's fantastic. But look, I've said, you're right. He scored, I think, 99 points in his college career. And I would argue that no one has had the impact on the University of Wisconsin basketball program over the last 30 years that Howard Moore has had. From his time as a player and a coach, he's been influential in recruiting so many of the great players, going back to his time as a student. As it's pointed out in the documentary, he was a big part of recruiting Michael Finley here. And then as a coach, he recruits a guy like Frank Kaminsky here. So Howard's had tremendous impact, and I didn't know if he would go into coaching, but I knew he would go into something where he was leading people, because he was just a great leader and a people magnet. He's a guy who cared about every one of his teammates. He's the best. I've been around the game my entire life, literally. My dad coached, and he is the best teammate I have ever been around, because his thoughts every day were on what can I do to help each and every one of his teammates. And it would be different with different guys, and he would do it. So I'm not surprised at all that he went into coaching.
Stan, that you hit it right on the head here, as you've been around teams your whole life, and team is just something that's so impactful, so important. And for somebody that loves team sports as much as I do, like watching the brotherhood and the camaraderie and friendship around Howard with all of his teammates is inspiring, but it's also one that out of the worst circumstances, somebody that loves teams like I do, it's inspiring to see how great of a friendship they are able to have and be brought together this late in life. That's rare. You talked about it just because of Howard and who he was, but that team, that takes a special group of individuals to be brought together and want to give back to their brother as much as they have.
It's a great point, and it's absolutely true. It really is a phenomenal group of people. But, one of the things that is talked about ad nauseum, actually, in sports now is culture. Everybody talks about culture. Well, Howard Moore is, in my opinion, responsible for the culture of Wisconsin basketball. He promoted, from his time as a player, that community and that close feeling. And, one of the hardest things for all of us who knew Howard around this tragedy is, if this tragedy had happened to someone else in the group, Howard is the guy we would have all leaned on. Howard is the guy that would have been there for everyone else. And so I think it is fitting that everybody, and literally everyone who was Howard's teammate or played at Wisconsin when Howard coached there, everyone has really come together to try to help he and his family as much as they possibly could.
Talking to Stan Van Gundy here on the Huddle, Drew, Billy, and Armin. You mentioned the culture and Howard's role in it, and it does strike me. 30 years ago, it's 30 years since you coached at Wisconsin, and they're on their fourth coach, and Greg Gard's been there since, took over for Bo in 2015. So that culture that you guys helped establish, that was kind of the ground floor of what has become one of the more successful basketball programs, not only in the Big Ten, but nationally. Go back to us when you first got to the field house. That wasn't the job then. It wasn't as shiny as it is now.
Well, it certainly wasn't. I mean, Stu Jackson, I think probably has never gotten as much credit as he deserves in the way that turned around. But listen, I mean, getting that team to the NCAA tournament after 47 years, a 47-year drought, and the recruitment of, Steve Yoder recruited Michael Finley, Tracy Webster, those guys, and then Stu recruited Rashard Griffith, and that momentum carried is what got the Kohl Center built, and things carried over from there. Obviously, Dick Bennett did a fabulous job, and then Bo Ryan, incredible, Greg Gard. I mean, now it's one of the most respected programs in the country. Howard was there at the beginning of that. He helped build the foundation of that. He helped put the culture in place, and then came back as a coach, helped recruit guys, helped further the culture. I really don't think anyone, as great as those coaches have been, Stu Jackson, Dick Bennett, Bo Ryan, and Greg Gard, I don't think anyone has had more impact on the culture of Wisconsin basketball than Howard Moore has.
That's fantastic. And the movie I wrote at night, this is starting Thursday. They got the premiere event. It's going to run for a week, hopefully longer. Hope a lot of people can go see it, especially our Madison audience. Since you mentioned culture and I brought up Thanasis before, I got about a quarter in the jukebox and ask you about the way the Giannis thing is playing out for us in the state of Wisconsin. Obviously, we can stand down now. We don't have to worry about it being traded again until it fires up in May when we start having to hear about it. What's your take? What's your take on Giannis? Is it a situation where the Bucks have to move on? We have to part ways amicably? Or is it a situation where maybe John Horst can pull a rabbit out of his hat, given some picks and some money to play with? He can fashion a team that Giannis wants to be part of.
Well, you know what? I hope for the sake of the Bucks that they can figure out a way to put a team around Giannis that has a chance to contend. Because I think Giannis has said it, and I believe him. He wants to be there. He loves Milwaukee, but he also wants to win. And he doesn't want to be part of a rebuilding roster. And hopefully they can pull that off. It's not going to be easy because they don't have a lot of assets right now to trade and move around him. But the bottom line is they've been a pretty competitive team this year when he's played because of his talent. And they do have some other guys. If they could find a way to put one or two other guys around him, I would hope that he could stay. And I think that's the decision that John Horst and the Bucks will have. Like, can we put a team around him that can contend? And if not, then we're going to have to start over. But you don't move a guy like Giannis without getting a real haul in return. Look, their biggest problem over the last few years has been Giannis's health. I mean, if he could stay healthy, and health in general, Damian Lillard was not healthy. They just haven't had a chance really to contend since that championship season.
Stan, you hit it on the head. If you're going to do it, you got to get a haul. And what we were going for was like the bargain bin in the front of Target. We're going to Costco and we're getting 3 carts. We're grabbing anything and everything we can if you have to move them. And in this day and age, like for an asset like him, that seems like the pinnacle of players that could be available. He would be the frontline center player, but it seems like there are some moves and some pieces around the fringes that the Bucks could be able to make. What do you think of like a Ryan Rollins? He might win like most improved player of the year. Do you think he could be a piece of something that they have going forward with him?
I think Ryan Rollins can be a piece. I think AJ Green can be a piece. Certainly Bobby Portis off the bench is a piece. Yeah, they've got some pieces. What they don't have right now is that second and third star. The guys who can really come in and, take over when Giannis is on the bench, take over when Giannis misses games here and there. That's what they're missing right now. They're going to have to find a way to do that if they're going to hang on to Giannis and contend. Look, it's not easy right now. I mean, it's tough in the league, and it's going to be a tough decision for John Horst on what direction to go with that roster. But Giannis, I guess I'm an old dude, and I long for the days where people stayed with one team for a long, long time, and Giannis is the Milwaukee Bucks. Heck, he's even a part owner of the Milwaukee Brewers. Like, these are guys that we need to keep around in their cities. So I hope they can figure out a way to do that.
How hard is it to fight off the instinct and the armies of the different big markets and the NBA media machine that seemingly wants these guys to move and matriculate to bigger markets when you are John Horst, when you are Giannis, when you do truly want to keep that in the place that you were drafted, in the hometown and all that? How hard is it to, in that role, to kind of fight everything off? Because it seems like it's inevitable, or a lot of people see it as inevitable, that they move on to a bigger market.
You're right about that. And it's unfortunate, I think. I went through it when I was coaching in Orlando with Dwight Howard. And there is a pull, and the media wants people. But really what the media wants, I think, is they want Giannis playing deep into the playoffs. They want the stars deep into the playoffs. I don't think this talk was going on when the Bucks were winning a championship. You want your stars playing in May and June. That's what you want in the league. That's what makes the league great. They don't want their stars sitting it out, as it looks like the Bucks will be doing this year. And so hopefully they can put a contender around him, something that makes him feel like he's got a chance, makes the fans in Milwaukee feel like they've got a chance. Because, look, they showed everybody in that championship run, the fans in Milwaukee are as good as any team in the league. And we know that in college basketball. I mean, the Badger fans will match up with any group of fans in the league, whether it's football, basketball, anything. So there's great fans there. They've just got to have a product that they can really support.
All right, Stan, on the way out, we know you coached in Madison. You lived there for a while. You visited Milwaukee many times in your various capacities in the NBA. Did you gain a new appreciation from Milwaukee when Brian Anderson took you around? Because BA is pretty wired in this city.
Yeah,
I know he's taking you to places. I know you've been to X Golf. He's taking you around town. Do you have a new appreciation because of our pal BA?
Well, you know what? I've got both an appreciation for Milwaukee and an extreme appreciation for BA. I mean, he is one of the great, great people in the sports business that you'll run into. I mean, he really is. He taught me a lot. Don't blame my performance on him, but he taught me a lot. He's taken time to mentor me, and he's just a great friend. Look, I'm going back and doing a college game for TNT March the 2nd, just so I can work with BA again, since TNT lost the NBA, and that was really my only motivation for doing it. He's fantastic. Love listening to him on baseball. That's the thing I loved about working with him too, is because I'm a big baseball fan, and between him and Boog Shambi in Chicago, that's where I get all my baseball talk, and those guys bring me up to date. But Yeah, I'm as big a Brian Anderson fan as anybody in the state of Wisconsin. I'll tell you that.
We're right there with you. He's a treasured resource. Stan, thanks for joining us. We appreciate it.
We'll get you out here during baseball season. We'll have a couple of sausages and we'll go check out the game.
Absolutely. I love it. And I love the park out there.
Oh, fantastic. Stan, thanks for joining us. Thanks for talking about Howard. We're looking forward to a good run for the Doc this coming up this end of this week.
Yeah, thank you very much. I hope everybody will turn out. It's a great way, see a powerful story, and support Howard and his family because the proceeds are going to him and his family. So sort of, do two things at once.
Yep. Fantastic. Thanks, Stan.
Thanks so much.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Stan.